All right, sudden realizations with RV life, money manipulations, and freedom. We're at a very kind of interesting time. I mean, it's kind of obvious in a lot of respects. RV life actually is the one thing that's allowed me to see the construct for what it is. It's really, really, really hard to actually see all the manipulations when you're in the manipulations. It can be done, and a lot of people do it. But I found it a lot easier to actually remove myself from the construct. You know, you could do with van life, you could do digital nomad, RV life, any sort of alternative lifestyle where you're basically brought outside the construct, I think gives you a better idea or perspective that you wouldn't have otherwise. It just makes it a lot easier to see the manipulations, especially the money manipulations. Money doesn't actually exist. It's used as a tool to keep us under the thumb of their control. I mean, it's printed out of thin air, and it's usually been a tool to exchange with one another. Instead, it's been manipulated towards maintaining power and control. When you realize that and can see money as currency and use different tools that we have at our disposal as quantum beings, you can look at quantum money, quantum creation, and so on. Quantum is the way forward, meaning if we just play at the level that we've been manipulated at, I don't know that we're necessarily going to see the freedom that we want to see. And that's the biggest realization. We need to embrace the quantum, however you want to describe it, but those attributes that we have as beings on this planet that we've been actually navigated away from. When we listen to the whispers of our heart, intelligence, and align it with the rest of our soul being, we're able to actually move forward with indefinite purpose. And it's then that we become unstoppable. It's not about like manipulating the 3D world, however you want to speak to that, you know, guns and so on. Guns can come in handy at certain times, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that for us to actually win all this, we need to think about life and use the tools at our disposal at a quantum level. And that's where our freedom lies. And I think it comes from, at least for me, learning to use the quantum at a different level than, let's say, the law of attraction goes. You know, a lot of people get stumbled by that. You know how they talk about the law of attraction and they say, okay, you have to align your frequency first, right? It's kind of like along the lines of be, do, have. When you do, things start happening. Okay, so we want to be at that frequency, but once we are, and we're able to create at levels we hadn't thought were possible before, that's when we can tap into a lot, what most people consider magic. And I think we're at the infancy of doing this. Well, there's some people who, you know, enlightenment is known to be our default state. In a way, you know, like people consider a lot of these attributes that one who's enlightened have to be like way out there. But when you look at what we are beyond what we've been told, you realize that enlightenment may be our default state. Not, you know, we've been pushed down so far and gone to and manipulated so much that we think that this default state of love and connection is actually, you know, unattainable. But what if it is our default, right? Because of where our minds are at right now, at least for me, to jump into all these skills that we don't realize we have may be easier to do when we use them at a different level. And here's what I'm talking about. Instead of thinking we're going to magically create all these different things in our life on a physical level, then get disappointed when we don't, because we've got deep programming inside of us. And it takes a bit of skill to release from that. I'm not saying it's not possible. In fact, it can be instantaneous, kind of like instantaneous healing. But for the most part, you know, it's going to be one of those things that may take a little bit longer. So along those lines, I found that when you become a quantum creator, creating content at a quantum level, and that means tapping into the field for our creations, then we start to realize that connection a lot more. And that allows us to bridge the gap to creating more than just videos or other content. Now, before you start going off in the comments or whatever, think about what Elizabeth Gilbert has said about ideas, how they are alive, and they want someone to bring them into the world. This is the bridge to that idea of being in the quantum when you create. It's also along the lines of when people have a patent that they bring to the patent office, right? They're in different parts of the world, but they bring together the same patent, not having any connection to each other. They bring to the patent office at almost the same time. Disconnected, same ideas. That's also a part of realizing the quantum, or the idea of the 100th monkey, where, separated, by islands, by distances, and yet when an idea gets to a certain tipping point, monkeys from further off islands that have no connection start doing the same thing. That's the power of the field at play. It's a whole idea of our brains being a receiver, okay? And when we practice that, by creating videos, by creating books and other content through our brains being a receiver. That means accessing our dreams. That means accessing free writing and different ways of getting at creativity. We start to have ideas speak through us. And in that sense, we start to engage the quantum. It becomes much easier for us. So if you're on the same page as me at this point, you haven't clicked anywhere, then get this. I have started a school group. It's called Quantum Creator, and it's along those same lines. It's first developing our voice, because we need to unleash the voice that's inside of us. We've been taught that we're unworthy of so many different things, and experts are the ones that have it all and whatever. I could go off on how unworthiness is by design. Self-help has actually derailed much of our lives. Sure, there are some cases, just like you'd want a doctor, where expertise comes in very handy, but there are these tools we have at our disposal, and once you have those tools, we have our own path through life that we embrace and are a part of. And it's in the unknown that we go forth, not by following someone else's blueprint. You may do that, and you may find success and whatnot, but statistically, that's not the way it's going to go. And personally, I found in my own life, following someone else's blueprint is not going to unleash the potential inside of me. Having some tools, using those tools, getting some advice in different times, sure. But in the end, we have to embrace the unknown and go forth with that in mind. And when we do that, much more happens. So it's with that in mind that I have this group. And first, it's unleashing our voice, working on that. And then it's engaging at a quantum level on an ongoing basis, creating and basically gathering our own tribes, our own pockets of freedom through those tribes, where we gather the tribe and that tribe helps us help them. And it's through that we get our freedom. And so it's with that in mind that I started this group. You can check it out in the link below. It's a brand new group, so, brand new group. So I'm like, come on, people, let's go. Get in there and let's engage. Let's start creating at a quantum level and start really, creating towards that tipping point of freedom. Whether it be at a collective level, I don't know. Maybe it'll get to that point. But even if it doesn't, I believe that the process will actually aid each of us in our own evolution. And that's the key. That's the key. It's having these epiphanies, accelerating our own evolutionary capabilities. And I really believe that if we, start groups like this, join groups like this, that we can get there much sooner. And that's the idea. We do this from the ground up, and it's not about, saving the world, saving the planet, or anything like that. That might happen, and that's great. But the real crux of this is the acceleration of our own potential, and in that it broadcasts out, engages others, and snowballs from there. So, want to join me? Do check that out in the link below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.